Poducer.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Poducer, the podcast for producers. Today we're joined by Greg Corner.
Hello. Good to be here, finally.
Yes, it's been a while. My brother's here. He's off the scenes, but he was the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always ask a general question, which is just like, what do you do? Like, what are all the things you do? You do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's really hard.
You got to try to define yourself right now.
I mean, I've been in the music industry for over 30 years and play a bunch of different roles, you know? And I believe when you're an artist, especially in Chicago, or really anywhere, you can't just do one thing in order to make ends meet. You got to do multiple things. So, as of now, I am an event promoter and a DJ. So I throw events, DJ events, all different kinds, you know? So that's kind of like what I'm doing right now, but have done many things in the past. I throw a bunch of boat parties over the summer, just like with different themes. Like I do like a dark wave, like goth one from the 80s and 90s goth called Lost Sail with Scary Lady Sarah and William Faith. And then I do, like I'm doing an 80s new wave one with Jeff Moyer and Greg House. That's called Neon Wave. That's all 80s new wave. And then I have this party called Trust that I do with Patricia and Miguel Martin, aka Echo Droids, at Smoke and Mirrors, like once a quarter. You know, like it's kind of a seasonal thing. It's like kind of like new goth and dark wave stuff from like, you know, basically the 21st century, you know.
Gotcha. So. And there's a lot, you got a lot of stuff going on. Darkwave was also like a group, but also like a party, and it was an electro thing.
So there's a party I did called Darkwave Disco. Darkwave Disco was more of like an indie electro party that was from 2005 to 2010.
Is that like Bloghouse era? Almost?
Yeah, Bloghouse era for sure. We started it before Bloghouse.
Nice.
And that's the thing, like we booked Steve Aoki for $500. Steve Aoki never played Chicago before and never even did like an electro set. He was an open format DJ. When we saw him before, he was playing like Beyonce and shit, like mashups. And then he knew about our party and he had his own label called Dim Mac, which was signing like cool indie bands. And that's more the reason why we booked him, you know, because he had a great label. And so he did one of his first like indie electro sets at our party, Darkwave Disco. And that was like 2006 or 2007, I think, you know?
Okay.
But we were like the guys that played with like Justice, Mastercraft, Digitalism, you know, Calvin Harris, even the first time he played Chicago, I think we played with them. You know, we played Lollapalooza in like 2009, you know, and we did a show in Mexico City. You know, we traded shows with Steve Aoki and played his party in New York or in LA, did Mac Tuesdays, and he'd do our party. And, you know, we had at Darkwave Disco, we had like Uffy, we had A-Track, we had, and Darkwave Disco was like a small venue. It was at this place, Sonotech, which is now the old, it's now Beauty Bar, but before then it was Sonotech. So it was only like 175 cap room, and we'd have like these big DJs, you know, there do that, but they weren't big then, you know, like we were ushering in a whole new sound and stuff. And when I was traveling around the country, because I was also in a band, and
we'll talk about that.
yeah, traveling around the country, like I would try to find other parties like Darkwave Disco, and they weren't in New York, they weren't in LA, they were in like weird places like Oklahoma. Oklahoma had a great party called Robotic before it exploded on both coasts, you know. And then I found another one in Omaha, you know. So it's like they were happening in different parts of the country, you know, kind of through MySpace and stuff, you know, because this is the MySpace era. But you know, meanwhile they were playing party jams in New York or in LA, really, you know. So and mashups like pop music and shit. So it was like, you know, New York had like the Misshapes, and they were doing like an indie rock more thing, and they would play Darkwave Disco too. But and then Alex English had Girls and Boys in New York City eventually, and then, you know, that kind of morphed also into like an indie electro thing, just like it did Mac Tuesdays.
Dude, I mean, yeah, I feel like you're a music nerd.
Yeah. I mean, music is my love. I mean, that's the thing. That's like that to the core. That's everything I do.
No, but you really know, and your recall. Like I was listening to you on the Lifers podcast. I was like you just know so much stuff and don't even stutter.
Well, there's definitely people better than me, but yeah.
Well, I kind of wanted to go rock before electronic.
Okay.
But since we're at electronic,
well, they kind of go both together.
Here's a question that kind of maybe fuse it together. That is, what is like? I've seen it too many times. The pipeline from metal to electronic. Like, how does that work? Because like half the people I, talk to are always like, yeah, I was a metal guy, and then I got into electronic. Is it like the heaviness? Is it the pure energy?
I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about Skrillex.
I mean, we interview a lot of different people. There's a lot of bass artists. There's a lot of like.
Well, here's the thing. When you're talking about that bass, dubstep, all that stuff, that's metal. It's metal riffs. That's the thing. It's all riff oriented. Even like Mastercraft, Justice, like that stuff back in the day, it's riff oriented. That is rock music.
Yeah, you were saying. And speaking of Skrillex, he was in From First to Last.
Yes. And the first, I went to Miami Winter Music Conference. God, this was probably like maybe 2009. And me and Matt went for my band, Kill Hannah, and we were like the only rock guys there. Because like at that time it wasn't really like converging, right? And so we were going to all these parties, and we'd always see this other guy at the parties that kind of looked like us, and it was Sonny. And like it was before he was Skrillex, but he was like going around the parties, and then like that year he like blew up like the year after, so he was meeting with all the different, probably producers and stuff, and getting in that world. Me, I came kind of from, it's weird. So I come from throwing parties. Like I used to throw parties at my mom's house back in high school, right? And at the same time, I was in a band. And the music evolution, obviously I grew up in the 80s, so I was like, I love metal, and then, I went to the first Lollapalooza in 1991.
Yeah.
And like that kind of changed everything. I saw Nine Inch Nails, Jane's Addiction, and that kind of like got me thinking differently about music and started getting into different stuff, starting getting a lot of British stuff. And like electronic music kind of came through that, right? So I was always playing in a rock band, but then starting into electronic music. And what happened is I was throwing a party at my mom's, and I had all these like crazy lights. I tried to like make it like a club, and this was like when I was like 18, or 19. And my friend Sante came over, and he's like, "Hey man, I love like the mood and everything that you set for this party. I'm doing a party downtown. Can you bring all those lights downtown for this party next week?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So he calls me, gives me the address. It's like South Michigan Avenue, and I go down there. I get outside. This is before cell phones or anything. This is like 1993 or 4. And I get outside. I get out of the car, and I meet up with him. I'm like, "Where's the party?" He's like, "We don't know yet." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Come with me." So we go into this like building, and he has a screwdriver, and he just starts opening doors to like different offices, and
like
we're
breaking into these doors. Like breaking in.
Yeah, breaking in. And so we're like, but we're not breaking the door. It's just like opening the door, And so we found one that was empty and then had electricity. He's like, "This is where the party is." And then he calls his hotline, because like back then you had a beeper. And so you'd have a voicemail and a beeper, and so you could leave what the address was and put that phone number on a flyer, And so people would call that the day of and leave the address, or like you'd get the address for the party and then go. So he leaves the address for the party, and then like we load in the sound system. I load in my lights. They load in a bar, and then like an hour later, there's like 300 people in there, and it was my first introduction to house music. So like Lego played, Mana, and I think Javon Jackson. And that was the first introduction to real house music. You know, because the only thing I heard before was stuff on like B96 and shit, you know, which wasn't, it was kind of more commercial. You know, this was like real Chicago house music. And I was just like, whoa, this is something, you know. Meanwhile, I'm still in a band, you know. So then I'm like, I'm gonna start throwing house parties and raves. So I attempt to do that with my friend. My friend Blake would get the spaces. I would kind of do the bar and the lights, and our friend Al Assenman would book the DJs and stuff. And we did a couple, but they were more like, I don't know, more like after hours or like, you know, house parties more than raves, you know. But that rave culture was all around then, you know. So in the meantime, I'm still playing in bands, you know, all these different bands. I'm like, you know, I play bass, and so you know, I was just, I mean, by this point, like, I was just coming downtown every night, you know, like, and just immersing myself in the scene. This is all before I was like really 21 too, you know. And so I started working at this house music place called Tunnel when I was 21. And I was like bar backing. It was like my first, you know, job in nightlife or whatever. And meanwhile, I was in this one band, and they told me to go see this other band called Kill Hannah. This is 1997. And so I go see Kill Hannah, and I'm like, oh my God, this is everything I want. I want to play in. You know, it's like electronic. It's like British sounding. It's kind of shoegazy, you know, like everything I like, right? And so they were at Metro. It was like their second time playing Metro. And so I was working at this house music club at the time, and the singer of the band comes in, Matt. And I go to him, I'm like, hey, aren't you doing the band Killing? He's like, yeah. You know, and we talk for a little bit. I'm like, I gotta go back up to work. I'm like working, you know. He's like, okay, cool. So I go back upstairs, I see him again, and he's like, hey, you play bass, don't you? I go, yeah, how'd you know that? He's like, you just look like a bass player. We need a bass player. And I'm like, I would, yeah, let's like, he's like,
what is the, like, why do you look like a bass player? Because you said that, I heard you say that in the Lifers pod, and I was just like, is it that he's tall and just like kind of noodly?
Like,
or
most
like,
bass players, what they say, I don't think this, but most bass players are tall and skinny or short and fat.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, I was just like kind of lanky and tall, you know, and so, you know, I met up with him, and him and Carrie, the guitar player at the time, we just talked about music, our love for movies, like we both love John Hughes, and they asked me to play in a show that following week without even hearing me play, you know?
Yeah, I heard you just learned the music.
Yeah, I learned all the music in a week and then played the show, you know? And then I was in the band ever since, you know? But meanwhile, I took everything I learned from electronic music, like throwing parties, and I put that knowledge into the band. And so we were promoting Kill Hannah, like we were making flyers that were like almost rave flyers, you know? And like just the marketing I learned from electronic music I applied to Kill Hannah, and then also my influence on Matt and just electronics, like the band got a little bit more electronic during that time, you know? So
yeah.
this was like the rise of the first wave of rave, you know, music. So this was like, you know, 97 when Prodigy was just blown up, Daft Punk was just blown up, you know, Chemical Brothers, like all that stuff was like coming into the forefront, you know, electronic music for the first time. So,
sure. Dude, there's so much to cover. It's kind of hard to like, and you've mentioned so many things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I'm trying to ground myself after my technical difficulties, and also just, you know, to talk about some of the like early stuff. You know, you said that your first, we always talk about first concerts. It's kind of a basic question, but it's always a fun story. You mentioned on this other podcast, your first concert was a Barry Manilow concert from your parents.
Yeah.
And then the first concert you went to out of your own, you know, like on your own accord was Poison and Rat.
Yeah.
What was like your first kind of interaction with music on like you're with your family and stuff? Because like I think about my first stuff was my brother had a CD player, and it had like burned CDs. It was like Sum 41,
Yeah,
like Alien Ant Farm, and I'd be listening to that. They'd be at like choir practice, and I'm like just like jamming.
Yeah.
So I really got to thank him for that. And then there would be times where we'd be in like my mom's van, and I just remember this one time "Around the World" by Daft Punk came on,
Okay.
and it was just so repetitive. And it's, you know,
It
that's
gets
just
in your
the type
head.
of music.
Yeah,
But
it
I
gets
just
in your head.
remember everyone in the car was just like, "What is this?" And
Yeah.
later I'd find out like love Daft Punk, but just
Yeah.
like, at that moment. But do you remember any of these moments where you were young that maybe there was a track you were kind of like obsessed with, or
Well, I'll tell you one
early,
thing.
early shit?
Quick story about Daft Punk, though. The first time I played a show with Kilhanna, we were driving in the van to St. Louis, and I played Matt, the singer, of Daft Punk. And this was like right when the album came out. And he's like, "What's this?" And I'm like, "It's Daft Punk." He's like, "I don't know." And then like a year later, he's like, "Oh man, you got to hear this band, Daft Punk." I go, "Yeah, dude, I played that for a year ago."
Yeah.
You know? But going back to my first memories of music, older brothers and sisters are huge, you know?
Yeah.
So my brother, and even a next door neighbor,
The Neighbor's also a good.
yes, like
yeah.
all like the whole ecosystem of music, you know, because like I grew up in the Chicago suburbs in Downers Grove,
Right.
and we would play kick the can with like 20 kids, you know, like, and so there was all different age ranges. And I remember this one neighbor loved the Cars, and so I really got into the Cars. The Cars were like my favorite band, you know, before I discovered metal and everything. And then my sister loved Prince. She brought me to go see Purple Rain, you know. But I remember my brother coming home the first day he ever bought a vinyl, and he put AC/DC Back in Black on. And like, I remember listening to that for the first time, you know? So, and then I remember going to see Return of the Jedi to Star Wars the day it came out. And we went to the mall and bought the new Cars record. And then he had a boombox, and you'd have to wait in the lobby until the movie started for like hours. So we had the boombox, and we played the Cars like album like over and over on the boombox, waiting to go see Return of the Jedi when I was like 10. You know,
I watched the John Williams documentary,
uh-huh.
and people like were obsessed with just the Star Wars vinyl, like the music from it, because it would like get you in the you feel like you're watching it again, but you couldn't watch it necessarily.
John Williams really made that, right? I mean, like, it's like, I mean, he was like brought scoring to almost pop culture, you know?
Yeah.
So
no, he's the shit. I mean, he makes people like Hans Zimmer like cool. He's like Hans Zimmer's like the cool.
Yeah. But I mean, did he make Jaws? No.
You know? Yeah. Have you seen that doc? You gotta watch it. If not, it's
which one?
John
Williams?
I think it's just called John Williams.
Okay.
Like,
I haven't watched it, but
you just look and see how much stuff he's composing. You're just like, I just don't understand. It's like some of these guys, like Quincy Jones. It's like that. What's it called? Like the outlier thing, where you're put into something at an early age, and then you're just allowed to just continue to gain XP points because you were kind of selected at a young age to gain XP points, and then you just like continue to grow so much faster, exponentially.
That's also, you have to love it.
For sure.
You know, because a lot of people bail out of really music, movies, like all that stuff, because it's not easy. It's not a lifestyle where it's secure.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of sacrifice in it that people don't see. They just see all the glamour, but they don't see the sacrifices are made to stay in that world, so you keep going up the ladder, you know? Because it's really easy to fall off that ladder and get pushed out, you know?
Yeah. I was thinking about this week. Like, you have to be obsessed.
Yeah. Have to be obsessed.
Yeah.
And that goes with anything. If you're
with anything.
Pro athlete, like whatever, you know, like whatever is like, you know, I mean, drive is what got me everywhere, not almost technical ability. Like, I am not a great bass player at all, but my drive to want to be in a band and make it was through the roof. You know, like I was driven and I had to do that. There was no other, like, you know, that was it, you know? Um, and when you find 3 or 4 other guys like that with that same vision, you put that together and it could be like a powder keg. But it's like finding the other people that have that drive and vision is really hard, you know?
I was thinking about that. I've been trying to build a team for this.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find some people that are as passionate about like a podcast, about music production.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a little bit rare. Like bands, people think bands are cool. And
no,
people
I don't think I don't think people think bands are cool anymore. I think
maybe not anymore
Yeah,
as
but
much.
they used to.
I still think they're cool.
yeah, I think people think producers are cool,
Yeah.
you know? And I mean, it's sad, but yeah, like the way bands are looked at now, I think people just know the reality more so. Where it's like, oh, it's not that glamorous, you know, like the curtain's been, you know, lifted on like the smoke and mirrors of rock and roll, kind of, you know.
Yeah, I was listening to someone, I forget what they were talking about, but they were like, you know, once you play gigs and you look at what the back of the stage looks like and you see how all the inner workings are, you're just like, ugh, did I ruin it for myself a little bit?
Well, I mean, none of that stuff matters.
It doesn't
That's
matter.
the thing. If you love it, like, none of that matters. And that's the thing. That's what weeds out. Like, if you want to, like, if you're just doing it for fame, like, you're going to get weeded out real quick. Because music is probably now, why play music? Why spend all this time learning an instrument and then having to deal with all these other guys and playing a band to be famous when you can just go on YouTube and do an unboxing video and make millions? You know, like what's the incentive for a kid to like want to learn all that?
So I wanted to talk to you about this because you were in Kilhanna, successful band by my standards, part of Atlantic Records, picked up by Atlantic Records, and you guys toured, you did a lot of stuff. You were saying that you didn't get 360 dealed, which you were like one of the last bands.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God.
Thankfully.
Yeah. It was cool because we kind of like, we were like in this transition period of the record label system. And, you know, the record labels made a shit ton of money in the 90s off of CDs. But come the 2000s, digital started taking over, illegal downloading, all that stuff. So the budget started shrinking, like everything started shrinking. But we got a record deal in 2002 with Atlantic Records. And that was like, Napster was around, but it wasn't like, you know, LimeWire, I don't think even started yet. So, like, people were still buying CDs and stuff. And there was still MTV, and there was still, like, this whole ecosystem of music. And we got to experience, like, the last hurrah of, like, what it was like to be on a major label in, like, the 90s. You know, where the budget was gigantic. Like, you get catering every day to the studio. You know, we got to live in LA for like 4 months while we made the record. You know, like, none of that stuff's happening now.
Yeah, they're like basically saying like you got to have so many followers before you can enter the door.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You got to create everything, and then maybe we'll put it out.
Yeah.
And at that point, most bands I would encourage not to sign with a major label if they already have a following. Right. So,
I'm curious. Like, if you were coming up in this day and age, what would your game plan be? Would it be like just also?
Well, it's just a totally different mindset, you know, like, because like coming up in the 80s and 90s, the whole goal was get a record deal. You get a record deal, you're going to tour, you're going to get a booking agent once you sign a record deal, you're going to get a manager once you sign a record deal. You know, they're going to get you press, you can get a video made, like all of this stuff. You know, like that wasn't possible or attainable unless you had a record label back then, really. You know, the indies were a thing, and there was definitely, you know, that started happening in the mid-90s with the rise of the indie, you know. But they didn't get the budgets to make records like that, or get the opportunities to open for bigger bands, when you're on an indie, versus being on a major, so a lot of times that's like, you get a major label and then like the big booking agents want to book you because they know the label is going to push you, and like it all kind of works together, so you kind of just get more opportunities, but nothing's guaranteed, so.
But nowadays, like, it really just feels like the pathway is make videos.
Well, yeah, but I also think now you can get a record distributor around the world at the drop of a fucking hat.
You mean just like DistroKid?
Yeah. Well, yeah, just like, on Spotify, you're on Spotify or whatever, like people can access you all around the world. That wasn't the case before. You had to actually buy a physical unit and find a way to get it out in those countries.
So do you think it's easier or harder in that sense? Because
it's both.
It's both.
You could all the nuts and bolts are easier, like getting the record out to anyone to listen to, but then getting the person's ear to listen to it is even harder now than it ever was, because there's just more of everything, and it's really harder to just get attention, and it's also, I feel like, bands or even artists for any matter have a less time to develop, so somebody releases something and it's like the clock is ticking, and if it doesn't hit, then you should just quit, where back in the day, even like The Cure, right, or like all these bands that didn't really hit success until their like fifth record, there, like, all the labels would develop bands just because they believed in them, and they'd have a sound, put them with the right producer, blah blah, and they get better and better and better. Now there's no producers really anymore as far as rock bands go. Like it's not a way for, I think, producers to make money anymore, because like rock bands just don't have money to pay for a producer. So
right.
It's just a different kind of ecosystem, but like the bands don't have time to develop and get their sound. And I think it's slowly starting to happen, because like the bands that I'm kind of like loving right now are the bands that you could tell write music in a room together. And like, it's not like one guy on a laptop and then bring it, like, so I worked at JBTV Music Television.
Yeah.
Which was like this TV show that was kind of like late night talk show, but it was all based on music. It was in Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's been on since 1984. Jerry Bryant's been doing it. I started working there in 2012 and started booking all the bands that were
and
coming
you booked some incredible. See, this is like a common thread that I've heard with you. It's like you're always a little bit ahead. This is why I'm so excited to talk to you today, because some of the bands you were booking for JBTV were like Fantagram, Tame Impala, and
1975.
There was a whole list of just like, and then months later they would,
or years,
or
like
soon after
they booked Youngblood. I booked back in 2015. He's just starting to take off now. He's starting to get all the shine, and I booked that 10 years ago.
So you can be persistent and still.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, I think it's just starting to, back in like the 2000s and 90s, that wasn't happening. It's like you released your record. If that one didn't hit, you're dropped.
Well, and there's that interesting thing where there's like on TikTok or what, any of these like Instagram, whatever, like someone will use some song, and then all of a sudden, now Creed's touring again.
Look at like Chicago act. I don't know if you're familiar with oh god, what are they called? Why is it
Pixel Grip?
No, not Pixel Grip. They're great though. Another band in that world. I keep thinking of their brother band, Blood Club.
Can't help you there. Don't know Blood Club.
God, what
I can look it up. French Police. No.
French Police. That's it.
Is that
French Police? Yes. So French Police, like Chicago band, they put out a song and it started blowing up on TikTok, and then like they're like selling out places in LA and fucking New York and like all over the country now and world really. They're touring around the world. So, and that's a band from Chicago, which is awesome. You know? And when I went to their show, it reminded me of the old Kill Hannah shows because it was like this whole ecosystem that they built, you know,
like
and
the fans.
Yeah, the fans. And it's like you don't see those people anywhere else but at a French Police show, you know, which I'm like, oh, this reminds me of old Kill Hannah shows.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna tell people like because I'm trying not to cover too much of the same stuff that Lifers pod did because like that was such a great podcast. Please just
I don't even remember it, but
go check it out.
It's just like talking to Scott. It's like
yeah.
You know?
But you were saying how like you guys built up a community at the Metro, and you know,
well, we didn't fit in anywhere. Kill Hannah didn't fit in anywhere, so. We weren't part of any scene. Like we weren't punk, we weren't goth, we weren't metal or anything like that. And so we were just kind of like making the music we liked, and just one fan at a time made this whole cult almost. It was a very cult
dress up like it's kind of glammy.
We were image oriented, and we had elements of Britpop and elements of shoegaze and elements of electronic and even elements of some metal stuff, but like we were never in any of those scenes, and we were never part of any scene where a band like Fall Out Boy comes from like a punk rock scene, like even like Smashing Pumpkins, they were kind of like part of the alt scene, but they weren't. They were always the band we looked up to because we were like, we want to be like Smashing Pumpkins because they like came out of like being part of multiple kind of scenes,
for sure.
And so it was definitely harder for us to get a following, but once we had it, it was very loyal, so
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess
oh, but going back, I forgot my train of thought. ADD's kicking in, but going back to JBTV, so I was booking JBTV. That was this music television show. It was on kind of regionally when I started, and they were booking maybe like 15 to 20 bands a year to come perform in the studio with like a studio audience of like 150 people, and we'd interview them and then like play live like 5 or 6 songs. All the shows were free for people to come to. A lot of people didn't know about it. It was like this hidden gem. My first year, I booked like 152 bands versus their 20.
And how were you reaching out to them?
I didn't have any history on this. I didn't know what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I never did this before. I booked, I think, DJs before, and so I was like, well, I'll just like reach out to the publicists, because there's a lot of publicists at the labels and stuff, and just kind of give them the background on JBTV. The footage looked great, and a lot of even publicists at this point didn't even know about it. And it's the perfect opportunity to get a new band on TV so you can use that footage and pitch them to late night. Because it's basically, this is what it's going to look like on late night, So, yeah, I was booking everyone like, like we said, like Phanogram and Tame Impala and St. Lucia, 1975, Imagine Dragons. Like, when I got there, I basically like, I'm just going to start booking all the bands I'm DJ, like all these bands, like all these indie rock, indie dance bands that I love that I don't think are getting a fair shot and they deserve to have some, notice. And so I started booking all these bands, and it blew through. All the bands started blowing up. So then we got nationwide coverage. Oh. We got on in like 152 markets or something. Across the country, which was great. And so they lend us up so we get bigger bands. We had like Soundgarden on there. Sick. Even and stuff. We had a partnership with a radio station too, Q87 back then, which turned into Q101 basically, or 101 WKQX. So yeah, we had like a Monsters and Men and all these other bands that just kind of like blew up later on. But around 2016, 2017, I started noticing a trend. And what it was one kid that would write music in his bedroom. He put it out online. It would blow up. He would get a record deal. The labels would sometimes pay for it to be remixed to release it, sometimes not. Then they release the EP or record, and then they're like, now you have to play live, so you have to put a band together. So they put a band together, and then they come into JBTV. And when you do that, sure, if the songs are good, you're playing it live. But is it a live experience? The live experience that I know of from the 80s and 90s? No. There's no chemistry between the members. There's no, because most of them are hired guns. And they didn't suffer and sacrifice to get to that point. You know, like that creates a bond and camaraderie and chemistry, and that comes across in the playing, how they are live. Then we'd have a band that'd come in that was like that, like Black Angels, like Quicksand, like God, I mean, like like not many, but when a bands like that would come in, and it would be like, whoa, it was like just like you felt it, because like each band member had a style of playing that, and it would work together. You know, that wasn't happening anymore. And so it just became almost like this. And I remember telling this to my band members in like 2007, 2008. I was kind of like the tour accountant on tour, you know? And so I would have all the numbers, the merch, like the door, everything, how much we made at each show. And I'm like, I don't know how a band, like we're a signed band touring around the world. We could barely afford this, and we sell a lot of merch. I don't know how any other bands are going to survive. And I go, I think music's going to become a rich kid's pastime. Like that's what it's only going to be accessible for rich kids, because they're the only ones that are going to be able to develop the craft to put all that time in to learn the instrument and get to this point of releasing music, you know? And when you do that, it also, another reason why kids aren't into rock music anymore, there's no danger. That's why they all gravitate towards hip hop, because it's dangerous. It's fucking like they're struggling. All the guys that are in that work their fucking ass off to get where they are. Yeah. Where rock music is not like that anymore, you know? And so, you know, and the school, sure, the school rock programs are everything great and everything, but it's only rich kids that can access them, you know? So it's like, and that struggle in the music, and that it just comes out like that is so important to rock and roll, you know?
This is making my brain go wild. I love this. First thing it's making me think of is like it's a double-edged sword. I've been thinking about this concept a lot lately, that like you got to go through shit with people to become their friend. Like you can't, I mean, you can like kind of like have the same
otherwise
interests.
it's surface level.
Yeah, like you gotta
I've been telling my nephews this too, you know, like you make your best friends in the struggle.
Yes.
You know,
you don't realize until afterwards, and you see them, you're like, oh shit, we had to, dude,
it's a trust.
Remember when we did that thing,
you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And then the other thing I'm thinking too is that bands, they start like, they can be very on top of each other, and that can be good, like they're like family, but then it can also be like family.
Oh yeah,
you're like, I want to kill you.
So
and that's why bands break up too.
Yeah, like, you know, like when the whole Jane's Addiction thing happened and they started fighting on stage, and I'm like, oh man, they're like in their 60s, like, come on guys. And then I'm like, oh wait,
I could see it.
I'm like, oh wait, I know Matt Devine, the singer of my band, him and I could do this when we're in 60s, because I feel like once you get in a band, you are the age that you got into the band with those members.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, like you are, that is how old you are throughout your fucking career. Like it'll always go back to me being 23 and Matt Devine, you know, like and so it's like those, like you might grow individually, but when you put the band together, and that chemistry all comes back, if it's good or bad, you know?
That makes sense. That is, yeah, like what the most impactful like thing, like people who get stuck in kind of high school because that was the best time of their life, or like child actors because
bands, like Motley Crue, for example, it's like they got all big when they're 18. They're going to be 18 the rest of their life.
Yeah. Just crazy.
When you don't have to have responsibility or growing or anything, it's like, yeah, you're not going to develop like the rest of, like Britney Spears, like being a childhood star that young, like, dude, like you're not going to have a normal life, And I feel bad for them a lot because it's like, who do they trust?
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you develop real friendships when you're like that way since you were like 8?
No, it is tough. I was also thinking about this, which is, you were saying that it's a rich kid's game kind of now, because like who has the time to just go fuck around and learn how to play guitar and put in those 10,000 hours?
Yeah.
And we're talking about rock, but like maybe even just some music in general. Like you have to learn a lot of stuff. But what about things like Splice, where it's like you can just kind of put songs together and stuff?
So this is how I'll talk to you about this. I have a philosophy. I think dance music is going to get decimated.
You think so?
From AI.
Oh, I've been talking to people. I'm like, dude, they haven't trained dubstep, but like that. If all you have to do, if music is just a waveform and it's a computer, ones and zeros, up and down, whatever, bits and stuff, like it will figure out how to replicate a waveform pretty good. It's going to do that.
It already does it. Like you could do any kind of music you want, but performing, how do you perform dance music? You DJ it. Do you have to sing? Do you have to play guitar? Do you have to do any of that shit? No.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those things that are on Splice, like all the samples, the vocal leads, all that stuff, all can't. You don't have to perform it live. You're just a DJ. And I'm a DJ. Like, I get it. Yeah. So I think it's going to really decimate dance music because anyone will be able to make it. Anyone will be able to play it. And so eventually, I think it'll come back to rock music and shredding. Because in order for you to play live that good, you have to put the work in.
Dude, that would be cool. Because I also feel like...
we're many years out.
No. But maybe not as many as we think. And, I've had gigs. I DJ around the town sometimes. It's not my main thing. But sometimes people ask me to DJ for, like, good money. And I'm kind of thinking in my head, dude, Spotify playlist. Like, but there is an aesthetic to having a DJ.
Yeah.
Maybe the DJ also provides sound or whatever.
I say DJing is 3 things. 1, knowing how to read a room. 2, technique. And 3rd, most important, which you can't learn, is taste. Okay? If you have one of those things, you could be a good DJ. But taste is everything. And that's something you cannot learn.
That's kind of in life, though, too. Taste is everything.
Yeah.
It's every decision you make.
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
So, but in knowing how to read a room is kind of a lost art at this point. Because like a lot of the DJs that are like performing and headlining DJs, they're not really DJs. They're producers that now DJ. And so right from their first gig, if they make a hit and never DJ'd before, which I've seen, they just come out and they can play whatever they want. And people like will eat up whatever they're doing,
Dude, it is crazy to me. Like, and this is the first person I think of not to like throw shade. And I haven't checked out the rest of their catalog. But there's this guy, Disco Lines. Do you know this guy?
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
They have like a TikTok song. It's like a mashup. Which, I mean, look, we went through an era of mashups. Like Super Mash Bros, Girl Talk.
Yeah.
I actually saw some crazy mashups as an art. I'm gonna put it out there.
But I mean, not anymore. But it was back then because the tools to do it were not easy.
Yeah, yeah, and people like to hear it in this, whatever acapellas over different songs and stuff. Now that's just a part of DJing. But anyway, this guy, he made like I'm pretty sure this is the same guy. He made like a pitch down version of someone else's song, put a vocal on top of it, and that song became very popular on TikTok. And dude's career is like that whole thing. And I'm sorry, dude, I didn't mean to single you out, but it's like,
well, no, but I mean that's common in dance music.
Yeah,
like it's a 5-year window. There's very few DJs that get to last over 5 years, like producers even, you know? And Chicago definitely has like more than most people that might make a lot of money here, but overseas they do, you know?
Yeah, it's just crazy to me.
They're into their 50s now and are, you know, still killing it.
Tiesto and like...
Well, no, like Derek Carter. You know?
Well, yeah.
You know, like,
you're
like
just
Chicago
saying,
guys. Yeah. You know, which I love. You know, Derek's an amazing DJ, but there's so many great DJs in Chicago. Like Jeff Mills, even. Like Jeff Mills doesn't make money in the States. He like makes money overseas. You know, he's not from Chicago, but you know, just like an example of, you know, Midwest kind of artists that are like not appreciated here and don't really make their money here. They make it outside of. And that's in general. You don't get respected in Chicago until you leave.
You think?
Yeah, 100%. Like everyone takes you for granted. No one like will give you your fair shot until you start getting attention or get out of Chicago.
So, as someone who throws shows, do you think about that a lot? Like, who deserves kind of the line?
No, I stopped booking kind of headline talent because it's not worth it. Like the booking agents, how much money they want for even a lower level band, it's just like, how do I make any money off of this? And I'm like with Darkwave Disco, going back to Darkwave Disco, we were booking all these artists that no one ever heard of, you know? And we were building their careers in that city. And they should be paying us. Like we're introducing them to a whole new audience and in a packed room. And they don't have to do anything. And they just showed up. So I was like, why am I? And when I started losing money, I'm like, why do this? Why book headline talent where really everyone came to Darkwave Disco for the party, not for the headline DJ? Even though we were culturing all of them on all this music. But if the music was just played and not those DJs came and played, it would have had the same effect. And so for me, I don't really book headline talent because it's just I want to create a party, like an event, a vibe, and I think there's so much talent in Chicago to use that you don't need to pay $3,000 for somebody that's going to bring 50 people, maybe. You know, like why spend that much money on that? You know.
Why is Chicago jaded like that? Is it that there's a lot of talent? Like that it's like...
What do you mean jaded like what, though?
Well, like you were saying that people don't respect you until you leave Chicago.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think, is it that we're just like inundated with talent? Like, you know, or like, oh, you're a house guy. Cool. But then you go somewhere where like they really appreciate house and you're like, oh, these are my people. And like we appreciate it in Chicago, but dude, not to the extent that we should. If Chicago, I think the government, if it was smart, they would put more money into like, you know, like keeping the history and like promoting the history of, because they don't realize how house music affects the entire world of dance music.
Dude, all the big DJs that come here, they're so excited.
No, they're like, dude, this is the home.
Yeah. Like Daft Punk, when they first came here, they wanted, my friend Radek like brought them all around the south side to like go to all like DJ like funk and like all that. They like loved all of that shit, you know? And like they wanted to see like the south side of Chicago and everything. Like they were obsessed with like Chicago house music, and it comes across on their music, of course, you know?
Dude. I mean, French touch, it's like a derivative of house music. Yeah. So it's just, that's really interesting that your friend got to chill with them. Like,
well, he was the first one to book them in the United States, you know?
That's
so
interesting.
I mean, their first gig, I don't know if their first gig was Further, which was like the drop bass guys, or if it was in the rave that was in Route 66 or Harvey Expo. They were months apart.
Okay.
But that was all, I believe, in 1996.
Did you see them at Lala that year?
Oh, yeah, I saw them at Lala that year, yeah. Dude, I saw Daft Punk at Metro. I saw Daft Punk at Shelter, this like nightclub that like holds like 300 people. You know, like...
Masked up?
No.
Not like as in they had masks?
No
mask.
No mask.
Damn, that's wild.
Yeah, 1997 Metro, man, like nuts.
That
And a year before, that's when they played Further and like the rave on the Dalton. Yeah, I think it was Dalton. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I mean, now they're just so. I hope they're not gonna go back together.
No.
But anyway, they don't need to.
But also Daft Punk, when you start making music, right, and you start looking at like it, and you start listening to what they sampled, and you're like, they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, this is a full-on sample. And then you're kind of like, oh, Daft Punk aren't geniuses. Like, you know, like, they are, but it's like, you kind of learn that, like, oh my God, that whole song already existed.
Yeah, Discovery, one of my favorite albums of all time. There are a lot of songs that are, I mean, face to face.
They add a kick drum, and it's like, you know, and maybe some hi-hat, but like, it's just like,
there are some that are more like sound art collage-y things, like Face to Face. If you look at that, it's like, I think like 6 or 7 different songs that they put into one, and it's like, okay, that's like impressive. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That you're right. When you think about music in general, you're like, everything is like a derivative.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to go back to like, you know, the music being like a rich person's thing too, because I keep seeing this ad for Splice that's like, I finished my first album in 3 days. And I'm just like, okay, like, what do you mean? You just dragged Splice sample? Like, this is like part of their marketing team. And I'm thinking like, okay, with AI making songs.
Yeah, you don't even need Splice anymore.
You don't even really need Splice. It's like, is fastness the most important thing these days? Is that the most important metric, that I can create something the fastest possible way? Because that's not.
Well, I think if you're a big DJ, yes, because you don't have much time to make music, you know, because you're always touring and everything. So, but a lot of DJs have ghost producers, you know,
right?
So I think that will help that whole thing, like just like getting things done faster, you know, like, you know, searching for a snare sound that'll take you sometimes weeks, and you can literally do that in seconds now.
Yeah,
you know, so it's like, it's just knowing the prompts and all that stuff for the AI software and everything is like, that's going to become a thing. That's going to become like what people are sounding. That's almost the new engineer.
Does that like having like a career where, like, you know, you were signed to like you went through like some of the more normal like music industry stuff, stuff that we hear about,
traditional
stuff,
yeah.
And then now we're all the way at this point where you got like Suno, Udio, Timbaland, like training AI, like just all this crazy stuff. Does it surprise you at all, or are you just like, it's the next thing?
Well, I'm almost happy it's here, because it's going to be the destruction of it. Like, because like it like, I don't know, like, I would love to see. So I have this other idea I have when it goes back to AI, right? Just for example, I have all these boat parties this year, right, that I'm throwing. And I'm throwing like 2 new ones, and I'm like, oh, I need some names. Let me try Chat GPT, you know? So I'm like, what's a good name for an 80s new wave cruise? And they came up with all these ones. I'm like, I didn't like any of them. I just wound up using the one I came up with, which was Neon Wave, you know? Then I'm throwing this emo pop punk one. And I threw one a couple years ago with the Oris, and they named it Emotions, right? And I'm like, I wasn't sure if I was going to work with them again this year. And so I'm like, you know what? I should just like search some new names, you know? So I'm like, what's a good name for a boat party that's witty, for an emo pop punk boat cruise? The first one that came up was Emotions. So it scraped the internet, ripped that party off, and gave it back to me. So what do you think it's doing for music? The same fucking thing.
Yeah.
Right? So in order for a band, I think, to be original and not get ripped off, they can't release anything.
People are taking music off the DSPs
and so I had an idea of creating a band. We write all the music in a room together. We don't record it, and we play it at a party. And that's the only way you can hear it. There's like, we're not going to record anything. It's going to be, originals with some covers, all kind of like dance punk, like LCD sound system kind of stuff, and do it all live, and just write all the music together organically. Because going back to what I was saying before, the bands I like now are the bands that are like writing music in a room together, and they have chemistry between the members, and there's an energy live, like Idols, Fontaines DC, Viagra Boys, A Mill and the Sniffers, kind of all in the punk world.
I've heard about Viagra Boys a bunch now, and I need to
get
in there.
And so these are bands that are like bands. They're writing, music together. You can hear that in their music, It's not just one guy writing a pop song and then putting together a band,
So you're kind of hoping, and I like this because it kind of gives me hope that it's like it's all going to burn to the ground. A phoenix is going to rise from the ashes.
I think we're a decade away. Okay. Like maybe
people
even
are going to
longer.
Juice it to make some money. Still, it's going to feel weird.
And then the power will come back to the players. The power will come back because no matter how much you use AI to write music, I just don't think the heart will be there. And if you really write a song out of heartbreak or some emotion, a computer can't feel that. They could see other songs that they can rip off like that, but to create a new one that's something with that much like passion,
right? I also heard just from like
and going back to the struggle,
right? And like. One of my friends was telling me this the other day. He was like, at the end of the day, it's for humans, right? Like, that's mostly what we're listening to music, humans. But like, he was saying the thing that resonates with him the most is that someone else who is a person wrote these lyrics, and it's like something that he has gone through, or like it's like this guy is speaking his own voice. You know what I mean? And I think that. How could you do that if you knew it was from a machine that just like amalgamated a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's the thing, right? Like, there's so much music out there that's like passionless, and even the people writing it might have passion, but have they struggled?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of them that are at that threshold where they got signed to majors or whatever, or built up a following and not have to work and do all that. Like, that's impossible now.
It's like the rich kid phenomenon.
That's what I mean.
As in, like, dude, some of the most fucked up, losery people I know are just like rich, wealthy kids. They had everything. Spoiled rotten.
I mean, definitely the most fucked up people are definitely the richest. Like, no doubt about it.
But just like people who had everything going for them and they just royally fucked it up.
That can maybe make great music too.
That's true. Like, you gotta
like. So I'm not discounting every fucking rich kid, because I think they do struggle too, just with different things.
That's real.
So
yeah, I don't know. I think I've been thinking about this whole AI thing a lot, and it's kind of like, because it's freaky. I think though that there is this thing where musicians, it feels more personal because you have to put in all this time.
Well, yeah, and there's a physical connection with you and your instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Like how hard you press on the strings, how hard you attack it, like how you're feeling with that, like what the drummer is doing, what the guitarist is like, and like all of that working together.
Yeah,
that's something that is like such a magical, emotional thing, and it's really a dying art. Like, that does not happen that much anymore. And I think a lot of these bands that are trending, like I said before, like Idols and Viagra Boys and Fontaines DC, is because they're feeling that. They're feeling that energy that has not existed in so long. you know?
Yeah, it's like risky playing an instrument. Like I started producing and it was like all MIDI, it was programming and stuff. And then I picked up guitar and I was like, every single time I touch this thing, it's a different sound. It's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
And that to me was just like, whoa, this is nuts, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, for people who started on that, it's like, yeah, dude, of course.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, where do you find music nowadays? Because in a time where everything's kind of like playlists and sometimes stuff is like background.
You know, I'm
like, where do you find
here's the thing.
stuff?
So I don't look for new music as much as I should anymore. And that's because I don't have an outlet anymore. So for years, you know, I was booking JBTV. I was always trying to find new music that I love, that, like, you know, to champion the underdog and these bands that no one ever heard of. Then I had my radio show on Q101 called Independent Dance Party. Mm-hmm. And that was all new indie rock and indie dance. And that gave me a reason to like look for new music and everything, you know? That I did that for 5 years and kind of ran its course. And then, you know, JBTV went under in 2020. So really, there's not many places for me to play new indie rock or indie dance. You know, I have
DJ set. I don't think I've seen someone DJ indie music like.
Well, I do that. Music. So I do that at Beauty Bar once a month. It's called Electric Feel, and so I play indie rock and indie dance from the early 2000s to now.
Okay, I gotta come see that. But yeah,
but that even is more. I don't get to play new cutting edge shit there. Like people are wanting to dance, you know, to dance stuff there, and like, and so that, and I love Beauty Bar. Beauty Bar is like my favorite place in the city to play. It's like the dance floor fills up before the bar. It's so awesome.
I love the way it's laid out.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I've been playing in that building now for over 20 years, which is crazy because that was Sonotech where Darkwave Disco was.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So I've been playing there since 2005.
Wow.
Which is just nuts. So but yeah, like I don't have an outlet to keep looking for new music. And it kind of like bums me out because I always like to have an incentive for me to do that, you know?
Dude, I think you were saying that you had a radio show back in Downers Grove when you were...
Oh, yeah, when I grew up. Yeah, like I saw the high school had its own radio station.
Right.
88.3 WDGC. And they would give kids like their own shows. So every I had like a show from sophomore year all the way to senior year, and sometimes it'd be Saturdays at like 10 a.m. or like I would have it during lunch period. Sometimes I would like go eat lunch and then or bring my lunch into the radio like thing in high school. It was like 90210, right? Where we go in there and like I would like play music and I would just play all this new metal stuff that I loved, you know?
Yeah.
And then that's where I discovered Smashing Pumpkins too. Like they had this cart that was I Am One, and I put it in, and I'm like, oh, this kind of sounds like Alice in Chains. I kind of like it, you know?
Yeah.
This is before Siamese Dream and all that. It was on Gish, the first record.
So I similarly went to a high school in the suburbs of Chicago, and I had a friend who had a radio show, and he put me on all this music, and really I got the bug. One time I went on like a Saturday and he was playing like all this music. I was like, what is, I just kept asking, I was like, what is this one? I'm like writing it down so I can check it out later.
Before Shazam,
Yeah. And I remember I got really, really into being like the guy who's showing people new music.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was like dubstep and like UKF and like just finding things, little gems on YouTube. Yeah. But I resonated with what you were saying, that like it excited you to put people on to new music.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how you become a DJ, really, you know? Like,
yeah,
that's the whole point.
But I feel in a similar place as you do, that it's like a struggle to, how do I play this for someone that they're gonna like want to hear it? And also because of that, the incentive to dig,
well, the culture's totally changed in Chicago. So back in the 90s and even early 2000s, I would go to see a DJ, and if they played a song I know, I'd be like, they suck. I don't want to hear songs I know. I want to hear shit I've never heard. And that's what Darkwave Disco was too, you know? We weren't playing pop hits, you know, like there was no irony playing like Whitney Houston or anything. Like we weren't doing that, you know? Flosstradamus was though.
I love Floss.
But yeah, I love those guys. Like us and them were like holding up Sonatech, and Bass by the Pound.
Floss was playing at that where the beauty
Sonatech, yeah. They had a monthly and we had a monthly. And Bass by the Pound had a monthly. So the three biggest nights were at Sonatech were the three of us, you know?
Okay.
And so, but like Flosstradamus even started out as like party jam DJs, you know? They were playing all different kinds of stuff before they did trap music and everything. They actually started playing and started producing indie electro stuff before they did trap, you know?
Well, and I always thought it was interesting because I went to the Netherlands when I was in high school because I had a friend whose dad was a diplomat. I swear this will come back. Yeah. But I learned about hardstyle out there. And when I started listening to Floss, I was like, there's all these hardstyle, like trapped out remixes. I was like, how do these guys even know about this stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, just Flosstradamus.
Yeah, Flosstradamus. I love those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, like going back to like Sonatech and like all of that, like we were playing, it was all about turning people on to new music. And so I kind of always, that's what I did at JBTV, that's what I did at my radio show. And I kind of have a void of that now because the culture of Chicago and really everywhere has changed. Where if you play something that people don't know, they're like, I'm not going to dance to this, I'm going to leave. They don't want to like hear songs they don't know, you know?
Yeah. I get it. I want to hear one like occasionally where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I like head nod.
But it's like, and that's just nightlife, right? Like, I feel like at home, people put on a Spotify playlist and just let the new music happen that way, you know, versus being out in public.
Well, and there's a very different scene between like the bottle servicey clubs.
Yes.
And yeah, the clubs that are like really for profit versus clubs where it's like one of my favorite right now is Podlace.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, the place is awesome.
And I'll go there and not know any music the whole time.
Exactly.
I'm just in a dark room like, this is cool.
They're culturing.
Yes.
You know?
But
which is not hard to do and it's not profitable to do. It takes years to get that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, is there a crossover point where like they become, I don't know, like because you're just
they're making money now.
They are making money.
Yeah, they're making money now, you know?
Yeah. But I just think, I don't know. I also remember,
that place was about to go under.
Really?
Yeah, you know, I mean, so they remodeled and everything in there, but it was about to go under, and like these promoters came in and would bring their own sound system in and throw these parties, and that's when it started getting over the hook, and then like it started making the bar so much money, and it became this thing, you know?
That makes sense. Do you know Danny's?
Yeah, I love Danny's. Yeah,
dude, I never got to go. I moved to this neighborhood like right when it ended, and I always hear people talk about Danny's. We live in a similar neighborhood of Chicago.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Just selfishly,
well, Danny's was like somebody's house you went into, but it was a bar.
Dude, that's so
sick. And it was just like walking into here, but it would be a bar, you know? And it just gave this like frivolous house party kind of vibe where it wasn't pretentious at all, but it was kind of cliquey with like indie kids, you know? So each night was different though. They did a Smiths night there. They did like, I think there's another like night there called Night Moves that was like all like synth stuff, you know? So it's like different promoters each night that brought different crowds, you know? And it was just great. It was just like, and once again, it was like culturing, you know? Like it was like a culturing place. There's just not many of those places left, you know?
It's really,
and I think the EDM world, like, you know, go to Spy Bar is like there's culture there, you know, like going to
like Smart Bar is like an institution.
Yes, exactly. You know, like and you're gonna hear stuff you never heard when you go to those places. And thank God they still exist. But that is just only in electronic music. That's not across the board. So back in the day, Medusa's wearing the shirt, like Medusa's, I don't know if you know anything about that place.
I do, yeah.
And like so Medusa's like you'd have Frankie Knuckles play there. You'd have Ministry and like play there in Front 242 and stuff. So all these different styles all together, and they'd play Madonna there too. You know, so it was like all different kinds of music mashed up together, like and really underground shit with really pop stuff. That doesn't really happen anymore. You know, everything's very segregated.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's tough too. Like I love like the bass music side of stuff too, and I go to the shows and it feels like this. It's like almost too much of the same stuff too. And I'm like, yo, let's throw some other stuff.
That's happening in techno too.
Really?
Yeah, like the techno stuff. I feel like is a lot of the music that gets made for techno is meant to be blended together with other things. And I think a lot of the new DJs aren't blending the tracks, they're just letting each one ride and mixing them together, where they should be playing them on top of each other and creating some kind of melody on their own. And I think that's another thing too. I went and saw the band Underworld,
I would love to see Underworld.
And so Underworld, I mean, they're one of the first gateways for me into electronic music too, going back to your original question. And watching them, I just played here like 2 months ago. And
they played in Chicago?
Yeah, they played Chicago for the first time since the 90s.
Fuck.
And it was awesome.
I missed that.
Yeah, and just listening to their music, I was like, wow, this is why I fell in love with electronic music. I was like, they're writing melodies, but they're not pop melodies. Like they're subtle and they're hooks, but they're not pop. And I feel like now, either you're a vibe and you have no hooks, or you're writing for pop. And there's no in between. There's no subtle melodies, whether it's electronic music, goth, whatever, Not many people know how to write songs anymore either.
Well, because it's all just like, here's a puzzle. It's like putting together a puzzle. Like, here's a loop of this. Here's like a couple of bits and pieces.
Tetris. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the reason electronic music broke, again, because they tried doing it in the 90s, but there was very few acts writing songs. A lot of this stuff was track driven. Come to 2005, like the electroclash sound started merging with rock music, and then it formed like the indie electro thing, like the Justice and like all of that stuff, and they were writing songs. Those are songs. They're riffs, but they're songs. Calvin Harris was writing songs. David Guetta was writing songs. That's why it took off. That's why EDM exploded. It's because they were writing songs, not tracks.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's not just like to be DJ'd.
No,
fully. It's like this.
They're writing songs. Yeah. And that's how it crosses over into pop music to get the exposure and the notoriety that it deserves, really. But and so people will even entertain that, because before they wouldn't. Like electronic music was completely kind of almost for the underground,
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I feel like there's so many artists that I see, and there's so many festivals, and everyone's kind of doing this like plug and play thing. And
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's reaching this point.
Yeah.
That it needs to burn to the ground.
I know.
Yeah. And because all underground cultures start in a DIY renegade space. Raves, electronic music, that's what happened. Rock and roll was that. Garages, basements, skateboarding, fucking people's backyards, building half pipes on your own. Yeah. It needs to go back to that, not capitalistic fucking festivals.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. The struggle thing is interesting too. Like, how do you create struggle without necessarily like causing trauma? You know what I mean? Like growing up can be a struggle.
Well, no, it's a struggle. It's so hard to do art these days, because how do you pay rent, work on your craft, and work full time? You
gotta be obsessed. I mean,
that's what I mean. But I mean, you had to do that back in the day too, but it didn't cost that much to get an apartment and live in the city.
Oh,
yeah, it's totally different now. No. What is the average rent here for a one bedroom? 1,800, 2,000 now.
Yeah. And I like the place I live. I was looking at like the Zillow, and I was like, ooh,
yeah, like
because it's gone up a lot.
Yeah, so how does anyone where the culture is in the cities be able to afford to like do that and learn a craft and be part of a scene and go out and like how do you like? It's just like the cost of living has gone up so much, you know. So the struggle's there, but the time to actually make the art is next to none.
Oh yeah, it's just full struggle.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, dude, it's rough. Let me make sure because I don't want to. We've gone over a lot of good stuff. I want to check my questions and just see if anything we got to do. Oh, actually, I was kind of curious. You know, like you got to go around the world with. This is going back to Killhannah.
Yeah,
you got to tour a lot.
Yeah.
Did you like that? Was it fun?
I loved it.
So you got to go around like the US, right? But did you get to go around
UK, Europe a ton of
all
times. We never got to play Japan, which sucked.
Oh.
We got to play Australia. We never made it to South America, which is a travesty because I think we'd have been huge there. But what people don't realize, and I'm so fortunate to have the life I have, is that when you tour and you're a band that no one's heard of, and you go to these cities for the first time, you meet other people, and they're genuine friendships, you know? And some of those last a lifetime. And meeting locals and experiencing a city through the locals' eyes instead of a tourist.
Way better, yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
So, for example, last summer, my friend was getting married in Paris, and she's like, "Will you DJ my wedding?" Hell yeah. It's on a boat? Yes.
Yeah.
So I go to Paris, and I only know a couple other people in Paris, and one of them is an old Killhannah fan. Her name was Tiffany. She used to come to all our shows, even in the US. She'd come to our shows in the US. And we became friends with her. And now she's a booking agent, a manager, and a DJ. And so I went there, and she's like, "Oh, come meet me here." And it was a show she booked, and the bands were awesome. And I got to meet all these other locals, and like got to see this part of the city that a tourist would never see. I went to like DIY shows, and like I got to meet all these other musicians, you know, like, and it was awesome. And it's just like, you can't pay for that. You know, like that is a genuine thing from artist to artist, you know? And and then just touring around the country in a van, not in a bus, but in a van, you get to see all the terrain and all of the different things, you know, like what the cities look like, everything, you know, instead of just like waking up in a bus and you're, you know, somewhere and you can only walk blocks from the venue, you know?
Yeah.
So, and just that struggle, right? Like of other bands you tour with, you know, and you become friends with them, and then like they might blow up, and then they might bring you up, you know, and get you to places that you've never been.
It's so cool. You know? It's such a cool pursuit. Like I'm on that type of pursuit with the podcast is my vehicle.
Yeah.
And I meet cool people, and they're like, "Yo, dude, we're doing a show here," and I'm like, "Sick."
Yeah.
And I feel like, actually, to go back to, you know, what we were talking about, how you find your music, I feel like I find my music through friends that are DJs and like people that like I've interviewed on this show. I'm like, I like your music, and now that I've talked to you, I like your music even more.
Yeah, it's weird. There's almost like, I used to try to go Spotify and see what they recommend, and it was never what I like. Because like I'm playlisting for like different restaurants and bars, so everything that's going through my Spotify is just like fucked, you know? So what they think I like, I'm like, no, I don't like that, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's all different ways. Yeah, whether it's a DJ or a DJ on Twitch even, you know, like playing something, or you know, a band that's playing, and then I see the opening band and they're awesome, right. You know?
Yeah.
Or like a friend, like I heard about this band, Matt Black, and my friend's Replicant were opening for him, so I went to the show, and Matt Black like blew my mind, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, it's awesome, you know, like it's all different ways to find music, but now there's just so much of it, it's actually harder.
I like to go the peer-to-peer approach.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's some, whatever, artists that will catch my ear.
Well, people always like tell me like, why don't you make a playlist and like so I can find out some music. I'm like, so I can do the work for you and not get paid?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like curating all this stuff just for another curator to come that's getting paid to like rip me off.
Oh,
like
the best way to find music, at least like on SoundCloud, is you go on, there's someone's SoundCloud and you just go to their likes and you're like, dude, this is a good playlist.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, I would like to also travel the world. We're doing festivals and stuff.
Yeah. No, it's.
I think it's important.
I mean, dude. So the drummer of my band, right, Kilhanna, Elias, he's been playing with Kesha since 2010.
Oh, dude, and now she's really...
Dude, and I just went to her show, blew me away. I've been friends with her for like 15 years now, and I almost cried at the show.
Because like, this is
everything she went through, man. Like, getting fucked by Dr. Luke and like being in like legal wars with him for like the last 10 years and being so fucking miserable. And then she writes this record. She played it for me a year ago, and it's so fucking good. The songs that she played me a year ago, I remembered a year later. That's how fucking good the record is. I heard it once or twice back a year ago and I remembered it. Like that's so rare. And she wrote all the music, like produced it, put it out on her own record label, and like is touring the world now. And Elias is the whole reason I know her. It's been playing drums with her for like 15 years. So it's like I got to have all these experience just through that and go to like see the pop world, which I never would have experienced.
Okay, here's just like a question from like, I don't know how to say this gracefully. You're a little bit older than me, right?
No, definitely, I'm older than you.
And I have this theory that you just have to create randomness in your life and like random events, and then that's kind of how you get lucky, and that's how the ball rolls down the court.
I guess there is some luck, right?
I wanted to hear your what you think about my theory.
It's just drive, work, never stop doing shit. Like for me, it's like I always try to have one foot into something else while I'm doing the thing. So like when I was like working a retail job, I had like Kilhanna, right? And then once I was in Kilhanna, I was doing the DJing thing, and then I was just doing the DJing thing, and then I put my other foot forward into JBTV, and then JBTV was going on, and then I put my other foot forward into radio, and so it's like, and I always try to be working on something and create your own opportunities. Like if it doesn't exist, just do it, just like you're doing this podcast. Like I like start throwing boat parties because I'm like, no one's thrown an 80s boat party before. And then no one's thrown a goth boat party before. Like so I'm like, I these things like they sound interesting to me, and I want to do them, and I love that music, so I'm gonna do it.
Find the boat.
Yeah. And so it's just like, you just create your own opportunities. You don't wait for them. You don't wait for them to happen. And the more you work, and the more you do things, and the more you help people.
So karma.
Yeah, it's not just karma, it's just relationships.
It's not even, we don't have to go to that spiritual level. We can just go to like just energy transfer. Like I helped you.
It's not even, you genuinely, like I genuinely want to help artists.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have to be
like,
transactional.
Ones I like, but I know the struggle. And so like I want to make it the people like me that was around me back then for our band, like Billy Corgan, like before we had a record deal, like we hung out with him. He wound up making music with Matt, and like this is before we had a record deal. He was on top of the world. It was like 1999, 2000, and took the time to like write music with Matt, and then also he introduced us at this like Smashing Pumpkins tribute show and called us the future of Chicago rock. Like what that did for us.
Yeah.
I'll be a lifelong fucking Billy Corgan fan and Smashing Pumpkins fan. No matter what he says, like he did that for us,
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think I want to do that and help other people not that I'm at Billy Corgan's status or anything like that, but I want to help out musicians and artists, you know?
Yeah, I was listening to this guy Paul Stamets. He's like this mushroom. He's like the mushroom guy.
Okay.
He, like, knows everything about mushrooms.
Yeah. I love mushrooms, by the way.
Yeah, actually indulged not too long ago. Last weekend. But he was talking about how, not to bring this back to AI, but he was saying how, like, what would AI do? Like, most of human history was built off random acts of kindness from other people.
Yeah.
Because, like, otherwise, it's just kind of stagnant. Like, someone's kind of got to, like, do this and, like, be like, yo, come on. Like, let's go do this thing. Or, like, maybe not even intentionally, but just helping people.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, why would AI do that? It's, like, not efficient or something. So his whole theory was, like, you got to go tell AI to perform random acts of kindness for people once it becomes too powerful. But that is so real. Those people that just, like, they didn't have to help you, but them sticking their neck out slightly and just doing that thing means the world.
Yes.
And, like,
and that's how Kill Hannah got the allegiance that we did. Is because we would come out after every single show and talk to every fan.
Nice.
And genuinely.
Yeah.
And then I even got on stage at Metro, like after we play a sold out show, and I'd be like, party at my house, and I'd say the address.
Yeah, I heard that.
And then everyone would come to my house. And this is before any social media or anything. So it's just like, that was our social media.
Yeah.
Like, we were lifting the veil and letting people get to know us as people, which you made a really strong allegiance and like loyalty, you know?
It's ballsy too.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I learned it from Motley Crue.
Yeah, that,
you know?
yes.
Like,
yeah.
You know?
So I feel like that's why when we think of people that, like, they just take and then they just turn their back, it's like that System of a Down lyric where it's like, we drank from the river and we turn around and put up our wall. Like, that shit is so fucking, like, yeah, evil is maybe not the right word, but, like, when you just think about things as, like, business, like, people are like, oh, it's just business. It's like, dude, that is gonna, like, fuck up our society when you think about that. It's just business. This is how we do stuff. We turn around and we just close our eyes to help.
The most heartwarming and really, like, emotional bonding periods is like take 9/11, for example, like how the city of New York, in the face of that tragedy, how people came together no matter what. Like, they all went through that horrific thing together, and they're like bonded, and they helped each other, and, like, you know, like, even when the power goes out there or whatever, and you, like, if there's any sort of tragedy or hardship, it brings people together, you know? And like, that is the true test of humanity, you know? Because, like, whatever the media and everything is telling about, you know, like, the people that are together, that live through that and, like, help each other at the most vulnerable points, you know, like, those are going to be really strong friendships and relationships, you know, for the future, if they get the opportunity to do it and not fucking die.
Yeah. I feel like Chicago is kind of cutthroat in that way, right? It's like a little, like, what do you got to offer me?
Well, Chicago, like I said, like, no one gives you respect until you leave, right? Like, and definitely what made us a good band back then is there was a competition between bands.
Yeah.
You know, like, everybody was trying to outdo the other person, making each other better. Because, like, we wanted to be better. And so, like, we wanted to be better than that other band so we can get more people at our show and, like, all that stuff. So it just made you work harder, you know? And I feel like that doesn't exist enough today. You know, like, there's not enough of that competition where it's sometimes friendly, sometimes it's not, you know? And it's like, that makes you just have more drive, you know?
For sure. I think that, yeah, there's maybe, like, a subtle, like, rivalry, but it's not out in the open. I feel like it would almost be better if it's just like, this band is our competition, let's figure, like, you know, we want to be better than them.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
just
know.
be like Oasis and talk shit about everybody.
Yeah, that's cool. That's sick. All right. Well, we covered a lot of stuff. I had some other questions, but honestly, I don't know. One question I did have really quick, and then I have a wrap up question.
Okay.
Is do you listen to metal nowadays? And are there any new metal bands? Not like new metal, like
yeah, the new metal of the 2000s. No.
Yeah.
I always hated that shit. By the way.
Really?
Yeah, like because we were coming up in the late 90s and during the new metal times. I remember seeing Disturbed at the Metro the first time, and I'm like, we're fucked.
So you weren't a fan of like Disturbed or like that?
No, I didn't listen to music, but dude, I mean, when you saw them live, it was like undeniable.
Really?
You know, like I know this band's gonna be huge. You know, like it was just undeniable. You know, and so like I hated Limp Bizkit the first time I heard them, and then we toured with them in Australia. We did this like download festival, or no, Soundwave festival there. And it was like, in the headline, it was System of Down, and then it was Slipknot, Marilyn Manson, Limp Bizkit, and then we were like on a side stage at like 3 p.m. or something, you know? But Elias, the drummer of our band, is definitely more in the metal world, and he's like, we gotta go see Limp Bizkit. We gotta see Limp. I'm like, dude, I fucking hate Limp Bizkit. Come on, you gotta go. Come on, our friend Cadaver, he's guitar tech, and you gotta check it out. Come on. And so I go see him, and it was like, holy shit. It was so tight, and it was so like the energy was just insane. It was just undeniable. You know,
I feel like that's the thing about energy. It can be a genre, it can be country music or whatever, something you don't even care about, but you see that many people getting down,
like
there,
love it,
bro. I kind of like it too. It's like herd mentality. You're like, I got it.
But heavy music, you know, like I definitely had like my metal phase was definitely like the 80s. Probably the last metal band I liked was like Pantera, you know, and that came out in like 90. I went and saw them on a Cowboys from Hell tour and the Vulgar Display at Power tour, you know, like that time. Then I got into alternative music, and some of those bands were even metal, you know, like Alice in Chains and like, you know, Soundgarden and like all that stuff. They had metal elements. But then I booked a couple metal bands on JBTV that I really liked, like Torch, Mastodon, The Sword. You know, like some of that stuff is like really cool to see live. And then like I love Turnstile. I mean, they're not really metal, but like they're hardcore, you know, and like that's a band that I think is great to see. That's another band I'd put in with that group I was talking about, with like writing music together. They had time to develop, and now they're writing like much better songs. And they're gonna start playing arenas, you know. And it's like, but they like suffered together, you know. They came up through like the punk hardcore scene, and like they are great live because of that.
Cool. So not really like 2025.
Yeah, I don't really listen to that much heavy music anymore.
Yeah.
You know, my love is always early 90s British music, like. And a lot of that's like a mixture of electronics and like I love Primal Scream, I love New Order, you know, like, and then, you know, bands like Ned's Atomic Dustbin and like all these like Brit rock bands, Pulp, you know, like, and like I love that whole world. And then there's always like I have Sirius XM in my car because I just got a new car and it came with it for free. So I've been listening to like Hair Nation, which is like all the stuff I listened to like in junior and high school, and the lyrics are so bad, and I'm like, and everything is so bad, but I still like love it because I loved it when I was a kid. And I'm like, how did I love this with lyrics this bad, and the playing is so bad, but I like,
and the mixing has got that like 80s reverb, and
it was like that energy, you know, like these guys were struggling together, writing music together, trying to make it. That friendly competition that was on Sunset Strip or whatever led itself to that, you know. So
struggle is the big theme in my mind.
Yeah,
for this podcast was called something. It'd be called.
Yeah.
Because we're struggling to identify, like, I don't know.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's something that should be celebrated, and that's what makes great art.
Mhm.
It doesn't just happen with how much money you have.
Yeah.
You know, and the opportunities you have with money. You know, it's just the whole culture of everything, nightlife, everything has changed so much because like back in the 90s or even 80s and like 70s for that matter with Studio 54 and shit, it didn't matter how much money you had. If you look cool, then you get in. You know, if you had an individual style, culture, like you look, it was an art to like dress up and look a certain way.
Swag.
And you would get rewarded and get brought in and get free drinks and all that. Now, how much money do you have is all that matters to anything in nightlife.
I know.
You know?
I can't.
Like, and it's like, that's what's ruining nightlife. That's why kids aren't going out to fucking clubs anymore, you know? Because it's so money driven, you know? That's why they're going to like the red line parties, the house call parties, because they're actually throwing events about the music in random spaces, you know? Which I think is so cool.
Yeah, shout out those guys. I definitely agree. I can't go to like a bottle service club. I just I can't do it.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about your first concert, but I always like to do a callback to that, and the question now is, what was the concert that was a game? Like, we talked about some game-changing concerts.
Yeah.
What is one that's just like, that was crazy game-changing?
Okay, I get chills every time I talk about this.
Okay.
My favorite concert of all time was Rage Against the Machine at Metro in 1993.
Okay.
And it was before they blew up. It was before they had the video on MTV. And it was like you can only get tickets at the door. It was like $12. And everybody was there, was down for the cause. They had political booths up and down the Metro stairwells. Like, it was a real like movement, and like they were turning people on politically, including myself, you know? And the energy at that show was unlike anything I ever experienced since. And you were in Metro, and I remember they opened with Bomb Track, and they're like, you know, the sea is kind of like moving when it's like dun, 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 dun. And like you're just like moving because it's so crowded, and like you don't know what's, and then it kicks in and you're just forced to jump. And I remember looking back, and all the way to the bar on the balconies, everyone was just like fucking going for it, and that energy was like, holy shit, like it was amazing, you know? And so when they got back together, well, the last time they got back together, I'm like, I gotta go. And so I went to United Center by myself.
Dude, I was there.
Yeah.
The
day he broke his leg?
Dude, I fucking I like twisted my ankle at that show and fucked up my ankle. My foot was all black and blue.
So
I was sick.
I went to that show by myself. I had GA, and my friends were standing in back, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going in. I can't listen to this music and not move. You know? And so I get close. And before the show, all these kids are talking, and they're all like on their like teens or 20s. And they're going around, and they're like, have you seen them before? No, I wasn't. I was too young the last time they, you know, like they played, blah, blah. Or there's one, I saw them at Lollapalooza, you know, blah, blah. Or
you were like,
whatever. And then they come to me. They're like, what about you? Have you ever seen them before? When was the first time you saw them? I'm like, at Metro 93. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like it's like they're amazing. It's gonna blow your mind. You know, and literally they started playing, and I just started jumping. I got in the pit, and I was just like, it was so fun.
Dude,
you know,
we were probably so close to each other, because I was kind of in the front there, like on the middle right side. I wore the wrong shoes and just came down on my ankle, and it was like, but it was.
I mean, thank God I didn't hurt myself, because like, I was like, I wasn't about to crowd surf or anything, but like, you know, it was really fun, and I was planning to go see them in Detroit. And I was planning to go the next night because I went to the first night when he broke his ankle or whatever. Oh. But if I was going to be in a wheelchair, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait until he's healed, and then we'll go see him at the end.
Yeah.
And then they canceled it. I'm like, fuck.
Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was going to drive to Detroit to see it, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, Rage, they're incredible.
Yeah.
I watched Tom Morello's Masterclass, that like series.
Oh, nice.
I was just like, what in the world? This guy is a master.
Yeah. I mean, like, Tom Morello doesn't get enough credit, and Nick Zinner is another one that doesn't get enough credit. And I always say this, and people are like, but like Jimi Hendrix revolutionized the guitar in the 60s, late 70s, or early 70s. Eddie Van Halen revolutionized the guitar in the 70s and 80s. Tom Morello revolutionized the guitar in the 90s. And then Nick Zinner revolutionized the guitar in the 2000s. That doesn't mean they're the best players.
Yeah.
But they just made the instrument do
Innovatives.
things that you never heard before.
That's what I'm saying. He was doing stuff where he was just taking like the 1/4 inch and just like it was amped up, just like touching it to his hand, or like
we're treating it like a turntable.
He has this pedal that could just
the whammy pedal. That was like what he made famous. Yeah,
but it was specifically it would like octave.
Yeah, the octave. Yeah, the whammy octave. Yeah,
that shit sounds sick.
Yeah.
So wow, that's a legendary concert.
Yeah.
You've seen some good ones.
Yeah, I've seen. I mean, I go to a lot of shows. I still go to like I mean, I think I counted last year how many shows I went to, and I think I went to 94 or something.
Wow.
That's
a lot.
Like, and when I was at JBTV, I was going to even more because I was seeing a band at JBTV 3 or 4 times a week, and then I'd go to the shows at night, So, but I'm always on the hunt for new bands. Like, I still love it. I still love seeing the energy of a new band.
I feel like that might be like how you find the new music is like, from what I've been hearing, is you go to a show, they rock the show, and then you're like, I like them.
Or somebody in the opening band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I went and saw this band, Girls Against Boys, that I love at Empty Bottle in like 2000, was it 2 or 3? And it was the first of 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the rock and roll. I hope that happens more. Unfortunately, now big tours, it's a payola thing where a band has to pay to get on an opening slot, or it's a booking agent favor or whatever. And so rarely do bigger tours have somebody that you'll discover on it,
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll break, and then
I'm saying like what needs to happen is the culture needs to come back.
Yeah.
Rock and roll is really underground now. It's more underground than EDM,
It is. Yeah.
So it's like, and not a lot of kids are going to rock concerts, and so that culture needs to come back around.
Yeah.
And for it to really thrive again. But what's going to attract the kids to a show? And it's the struggle and danger of it,
100%. Yeah. And there are cool electronic music shows that are like underground.
That's still happening.
Like Redline,
and the house calls and stuff.
Those guys are
like some of the best house music I've heard. That's not like an old DJ that I love was at a house calls event. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, shit. I mean, we could keep talking forever. Yeah. I don't know how long we've been going, for a hot minute. But dude, thank you so much for coming through, man. I appreciate this. It was kind of slightly scatterbrained, but I think we covered a lot of stuff, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Any quick shout outs, like anyone that's pivotal in your career that you just want to shout out real quick, or just someone you were thinking about?
I mean, there's a lot of people in Chicago. Definitely like the guys that gave Killahannah their shot, like, Joe Shanahan at Metro, and Sean McDonough, who used to book Metro. And then Tommy Sunshine, my old roommate, who's also a DJ and producer, he turned me on to a lot of music in the early 2000s and stuff. So he was definitely like a taste maker, and I would say mentor, but like music for sure mentor, and then I wish I would love to have a mentor.
Me too.
Dude,
I want to mentor me?
Yeah. Like, I would love to have a mentor. I've mentored a couple other people, and it's been really cool.
Like, rewarding.
Yeah. It's been cool to see them grow, and like Patricia was somebody I worked with at JBTV, and she wanted to become a DJ. So I kind of, it was like trial by fire. Like, she was like, she wanted to DJ. I got offered this rock first goth night. I'm like, you're going to DJ. I'm going to show you how to do it. So she shows up. I'm like, here are the faders. Don't worry about B matching, okay? Your taste is what's going to get you through this. Play one song on this channel, another song on this channel, use the crossfader or use the thing, go. You know, and like literally started DJing in front of everybody. And like that's how she learned. Now she's a better DJ than me. You know, like she's great.
You get that first good experience. You're like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah.
And you start learning the beat.
And so, because I didn't know, no one showed me how to DJ. I just kind of figured it out, you know? And I wish I had a mentor for a lot of things. Like even JBTV, I was just like flying blind. I didn't know what I was doing.
That's how I feel my whole life. I mean, I have an older brother.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So that's, yeah, and you had an older brother, right?
Yeah.
You said, yeah.
But they weren't in the same world as me.
No,
you know, like they're older brothers and like, you know, like, and give you guidance and stuff on certain things. But like for what you're doing, you know, you could at least go to another podcaster and be like, what would you recommend? This is what I'm doing, you know, so you can get mentored in that way. Where I'm just doing all these different things that kind of like make my career.
But that's how I am too, in the sense like I got my podcast, I got my dog business, I got like just all these.
You have to do that though. If you're in the arts, you have to do multiple things to make it me.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean, going back to the struggle where imagine like now you have to find time to write music and like
I told myself I've been producing for like over 10 years and I just told myself, look, you got to choose one. It's either the podcast and the dog thing or dog thing and
the sacrifice,
the music.
Yeah,
and I was just like, I don't have enough bandwidth. So I'd really love to get back to a point though where I can make that album I've always wanted to make.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, you know, anybody will be able to do that, especially with AI.
Yeah, I also learned so much when I talk to people. Like we didn't really talk about any technical production stuff.
I'm not great with that anyways.
Well, so. I also think that it's just not quite as interesting as like the stories that we have.
Stories, yeah.
But like I've learned a lot of sauce, so to speak, keys to the city from people, and now I'm like, if I get back into it, I feel like I have so much more vision, you know. So anyway, not to make this about me, let's wrap this guy up. You did your shout outs. If you guys made it this far, we appreciate you listening. And yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah.
We'll catch you guys next time.
All right. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yo, what's up, guys? This is your host, Jerry. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. If there's someone you'd like to see on the show, leave a comment below. And if you're listening on a podcast platform, we'd appreciate it if you leave a review and hit that 5-star rating. Thank you for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one.